Hello, good morning, students. Today we can start with the arrhythmia, arrhythmia's mechanism and pathophysiology. I think last class we discussed about the normal ECG. Now we can see about arrhythmia. The outline that is in such a way that we can see the normal sinus rhythm. We already discussed about the normal sinus rhythm. Next, about the normal cardiac cell electrophysiology. We studied in the first year the same way. Last class I discussed also about cardiac cell electrophysiology. Electrophysiology. Next, about the mechanisms of arrhythmogenesis. This is the way I am going to discuss about arrhythmia mechanism and pathophysiology. Thinking about the normal sinus rhythm, it implies the normal sequence of conduction. Normal sinus rhythm means cardiac conduction is normal. There is no abnormalities in conduction. It's originating from the sinus node and proceeding to the AV node and to the bundle of his Purkinje fibers. That means atrial and ventricular conduction rhythm. Conduction is normal. That's of the normal sinus rhythm. The ECG shows some characteristics for the normal sinus rhythm that include regular narrow complex rhythm. That's a regular rhythm. That means P wave, QRS complex, like that. Regular rhythm that is. Again, the rate that's 60 to 100 beats per minute. Then each QRS complex is preceded by a P wave. Then about the P wave, that is usually upright in lead 1, lead 2, and down low, that is downward direction in lead AVR. This is all about the normal sinus rhythm. Now once more let us see about the normal cardiac cell electrophysiology. The cardiac electrophysiology that actually involves studying the electrical impulses and their conduction throughout the cardiac cells, that means the atria and the ventricles, that provide power as well as coordination for cardiac cycle. Now, the electrical impulses that are created by, I already told, created by ion exchanges. The exchange of ion in the mechanical or muscle cells generate the electrical activity. At rest, the muscles have slightly more positive ions, that means sodium and calcium ions on outside of each cell, and more negative ions inside the cell. That is the normal resting membrane potential that we are defining it as polarization. Then think about the potassium. That's the most prevalent intracellular ion. Then the resting cell, they have a threshold for activation that is based on the difference in the ion concentrations. That's what is called AP, action potential. Differences in ion concentrations. The stimulation of a cardiac muscle cell or the depolarization from the resting stage to the depolarization, polarization stage to the depolarization, that is created by some exchange of the ions. That means that is created by a rapid influx of sodium followed by a slower influx of calcium into the cell. Normally, the influx is followed by muscle contractions. Outside, that is positive, and inside negative. That's why influx is there, sodium and calcium. The cell that respond to this influx by potassium diffusing out of the cell. That is to help to rebalance the positive ions. That we are calling it as early depolarization. And this is the Plato phase. on both sides of the cell membrane. A slower efflux that is followed, efflux of the potassium that is followed by a rapid efflux of potassium. That is called a rapid, means rapid repolarization. Now finally the potassium pump that must activate fully in order to balance, that means rebalance the electrical potential of the cell, restore iron to its original position and achieve the resting membrane potential. That is all what we started, that's all polarization. This all about the electrical physiology of cardiac cells. If you want to study about the arrhythmogenesis, mechanism of arrhythmogenesis, this electrical activity that should be thorough for all. We should know that. Now we can see the mechanisms of arrhythmogenesis. The mechanism involved, we can divide the mechanisms into three categories. First one, the disorders of impulse formation. Disorder of impulse generation or formation. Any disorder or dysfunction in the formation of the impulses by our nodes. Second comes the disorders of impulse conduction. Once it's formed, it's okay. Generated is okay. Then what about this conduction? Should be conducted normally through the cardiac muscle cells. So there are some disorders in the impulse conduction. Now the third mechanism, the combination of these two, the disorder of impulse formation and disorder of impulse conduction. See the diagram that represents the mechanism of arrhythmogenesis to include disorder of impulse conduction generation and disorder of impulse conduction. The disorder of impulse generation, that's mainly divided into two categories. One is of altered automaticity, the other one is triggered activity. Triggered activity, again there are two phases are there. One is early after depolarization and the other one is delayed after depolarization. Now think about the disorder of impulse conduction. That disorder of impulse conduction, there are two entities are there, two aspects are there. One is re-entry mechanism. Another one is conduction block itself. From the diagram, it's clear for you the mechanisms involved in arrhythmogenesis. Now, you observe one more diagram. In this diagram, again we are considering the altered impulse formation. Altered impulse formation or generation of the impulse. There are two possibilities. One is enhanced automaticity. That means something is more that is enhanced automaticity that may actually leads to tachyarrhythmias. That means increased heart rate is the main feature of that type of arrhythmias. Think about impulse formation again. Enhanced means the opposite is there, that is sure. That's so decreased automaticity. There is decline. What is the possibility? Once there is decreased automaticity means that may leads to bradyarrhythmias. The main clinical feature is decreased heart rate. Then consider the second aspect, that's so altered impulse conduction. In altered impulse conduction also, if conduction block is there, if there is a block, the impulse is not going down through the pathway. There is a slowness is there. What's the effect? That may lead to bradyarrhythmias. Conduction block leads to bradyarrhythmias. The other hand, if there is re-entry is there, a stimulation is there, re-entry is there, again and again stimulation is what will happen? that may lead to tachyarrhythmias. That's of increased heart rate. So you observe the second diagram also. So the concept means by observing that diagram, the concept should be clear for you. Now, in detail, we can see about disorders of impulse formation. Already told there are two mechanisms only. One is disorder of automaticity. The other one is trigger activity. Among that, we can see about automaticity. Before going to disorder of automaticity, you must know what is automaticity. That's a feature of the cardiac cells, automaticity. Automaticity means the ability of specialized cardiac cells such as normal synovial node or cells in some part of the atria and AV node, AV ventricular nodes, junctional regional cells, and in his Purkinje system, myocyte cells. These all have some property to initiate a spontaneous action potential. That is actually called automaticity. The ability of a cell to initiate a spontaneous action potential. That's all automaticity. Normally, who is having that ability? The main pacemaker of the heart, that's of SA node, that spontaneously discharges 60 to 100 times per minute. That's the normal automaticity. That's the rhythm followed in heart. Again, suppression or enhancement of this activity that may lead to clinical arrhythmias. If there is suppression of the SA node or enhancement of this SA node, that may lead to clinical arrhythmias. Not only SA node, whatever it may be, this activity, automaticity, there is suppression or enhancement that can lead to clinical arrhythmias. Now, what is of abnormal automaticity? Is thought to play a role in case of elevated extracellular potassium. The level of extracellular potassium is elevated, or low intracellular pH and catecholamine excess. These all situations, there is chances of abnormal automaticity. In detail, you can refer your physiology book. Then the automaticity that is usually characterized by two features. One is inappropriate discharge rate of SA node. Then automaticity means inappropriate discharge rate from SA node. Two characteristics. Automaticity, SA node inappropriately discharging the impulses. The other hand, discharge of an ectopic pacemaker that controls atrial and ventricular contractions. Ectopic pacemaker is there, discharge from. Instead of this SA node, there is an ectopic pacemaker that controls the atrial and ventricular contractions. That's another possibility. That's all altered automaticity possibilities. Now, the pacemaker from another site can be from AV or from Purkinje fibers or ventricles or atria, from anywhere. A pacemaker from another site that may be discharged in two ways. One, if SA node, think about the SA node, he is the pacemaker that is dysfunctional or arrest. SA node arrest is there or dysfunction is there. That time it discharges very slowly, more slowly. That means premature beats or possibly an escape compensatory heart rhythm may arise in that situation. That may passively escape the impulse, the beat that may passively escape. That time, who will take the responsibility? The secondary pacemaker. He will take the secondary pacemaker will take the responsibility. SA node discharges more slowly than a secondary pacemaker. Atria junction or ventricle. These all can be the secondary pacemakers. Then what will do? The secondary pacemaker will then discharge automatically at its own intrinsic rate. All secondary pacemakers have its own intrinsic rate. That means for 40 to 60 beats for AV node and 20 to 40 for his Purkinje system. That is their rate. So they will make the potentials, that means impulses, in that intrinsic range from the AV node 40 to 60 and from Purkinje system, that's all 20 to 40 beats per minute. That is the way the pacemaker from another side, how it discharges. Now, another possibilities is like that. Another way the secondary pacemakers can originate is when they discharge more rapidly than the normal pacemaker of the heart, that's of SA node. The secondary pacemakers, they can originate the impulses, means it discharges more rapidly than the pacemaker, that's of SA node. Again, there is possibility for abnormal automaticity. Anyway, automaticity, the heart cells other than those of the SA node depolarizes faster than SA node cells and take control as the cardiac pacemaker. Factors that enhance the automaticity include that is increased decrease oxygen, increase the carbon dioxide, then iron concentrations, increased stretch, hypokalemia, hypocalcemia. There are many factors. Now just we have to consider some other factors too. That is of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerve fibers influence over this activity. Sympathetic nerve fibers and parasympathetic nerve fibers. That including three aspects like the rate of discharge of SA node, that's controlled by these two. Then conduction through the AV node, that's also controlled by sympathetic and parasympathetic activity. And force of both atrial and ventricular contraction, that's also depend upon the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers influence. See about the parasympathetic influence. Who is the main source? That's the vagus nerve. It slows the rate of pacing by SA node and AV junction. That means decrease the force of contraction, releasing acetylcholine, that decrease the discharge rate of pacemaker. Then hyperpolarizing the cell by increasing the conductance of potassium. This is the way the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic effect influences the impulse formation. Now, the other hand, we can see about the sympathetic nerve fibers. Usually the sympathetic nerve fibers that originating from T1 to T5, they're stimulated. Once it's stimulated, any nerve stimulated, that produces norepinephrine. What's the effect of norepinephrine? It will increase the heart rate. Again, is stimulated, produce catecholamine, increases the heart rate, the force of contraction, increases the BP and increases the cardiac output. Also, it increases the inward calcium current. This all comes under the sympathetic nerve fibers influence on cardiac conduction. Then, considering the automaticity, one more aspect is there, that's about a parasystole. Sometimes somebody will ask you, what is parasystole? It's a benign type of automaticity. It's a problem that affects only a small region of the atrial or ventricular cells. That's the parasystole. A small region is affected, a conduction. During that conduction, only a small portion is affected. That is called the parasystole. Now, we can see how to recognize unaltered automaticity by an ECG. You know how to see the ECG strips, you know the characteristics of ECG actor. If you are getting an ECG strip, how you can recognize the automaticity? First comes, you must see the presence of the P waves. If P wave is present means sure that the impulses that originated from the pacemaker, that's all SA node. That suggests that the rhythms originating from the SA node. But absent P wave means the rhythm that's not originated from the SA node, maybe from AV node, it's originated. So there is chance of altered automaticity if there is absence of P wave. The P wave of the first beat of the arrhythmia is typically the same as the remaining beats of the arrhythmia. If the P wave is present at all, the first beat P wave is same as that of the remaining beats. That means you can see it's originated from the SA node. That's the way we can recognize the altered automaticity by considering the absence or presence of P wave. Now you see some more diagrams. This ECG strips that demonstrate decreased automaticity. Decreased automaticity means normally it's a sinus bradycardia, only decreased automaticity. Now other abnormal automaticity strip you can see. In that first ECG strip, that's of sinus tachycardia. You see the frequency, wave frequency. Next comes that is ectopic atrial tachycardia. Ectopic focus where it is in atria, it is the focus. The other two ECG, sinus bradycardia or sinus tachycardia, the focus is of SA node itself. No, ectopic atrial tachycardia, focus is atria. Now the third strip again you see, that's junctional tachycardia. AV junction is the originating point, that is the ectopic focus. These are some diagrams. You can refer the diagram and find out what's the difference. Now about the impulse generation we are studying the second aspect, that is of triggered activity. Automaticity it's over. Altered automaticity, we know about what is automaticity. Now we can see the second aspect, that's of triggered activity. The triggered activity that occurs when an early after depolarizations and delayed after depolarizations initiate spontaneous multiple depolarizations. Can be an early or delayed after depolarizations, can initiate a spontaneous multiple depolarizations, precipitating ventricular dysarrhythmias. The examples of such dysarrhythmias include Torsades de Pointes and ventricular arrhythmias caused by digitalis toxicity. Later we will discuss about these types of arrhythmias. Just I mentioned some example only. Anyway, there is early after depolarization is there, delayed after depolarization is there. Triggered activity is defined by impulse initiation caused by after depolarization, that is the membrane potential oscillates that occur during or immediately following a preceding action potential. An action potential is there. Immediately by this action potential, there is membrane potential oscillations are there. It is called a trigger. Trigger. You know what is the trigger factor? What induces, that enhances. That's what triggers. You know about the triggers of asthma, the triggers that may lead to cardiac diseases. The same thing. This is the trigger for that triggering factor in that. Then the after depolarization occur only in the presence of a previous action potential. That means the trigger, a previous action potential is there, then after depolarization occur in the presence of a previous action potential. And when they reach the threshold potential, a new action potential is generated. It has got a maximum threshold. Once it reaches the threshold potential, a new action potential is generated. That's the triggered activity. This may be the source of a new triggered response. That will act as next triggered response, new source of triggered response, leading to self-sustaining triggered activity. 1 to 1, 1 to 1, like that, a self-sustained triggered activity will occur. Okay, based on their temporal relationship. Two types, already I mentioned, two types of altered polarizations. They are described in two types. That's early after depolarizations occur during phase 2 or 3 of action potential. You know about phase 2 and 3. The last class during ECG I explained properly with the diagram about phase 1, 2 and 2. And delayed after depolarizations that occur after completion of repolarization. That's about the triggered activity. The causes of early after depolarizations, we are considering decreased potassium blood level, decreased heart rate, drug toxicity, quinidine toxicity. These all are some causes of early after depolarization. Then considering delayed after depolarization, that may cause triggered activities due to, why it's causing triggered activity? There is premature beats, there may be premature beats, or increased calcium ions, or increased adrenaline, or digitalis toxicity. This is about triggered activity, the causes of early after depolarization and delayed after depolarizations. These two aspects is over. Disorders of impulse formation. First one is altered automaticity. Second one is triggered activity. Now we can move to the disorders of impulse conduction. Conduction means once it's generating properly, that's not not a positive aspect. The rhythm is normal or there is no arrhythmia. We can't say like that. It should be conducted properly, the impulses. The conduction, disorder of conduction, impulse conduction, it has got two aspects. One is conduction block, the other one is called re-entry mechanism. Before going to abnormal conductions, we can see what is conduction. All cardiac cells, they can receive electrical stimuli and transmit or conduct impulses to an adjacent cell. That's the property of a cell, cardiac cell, to conduct, receive and transmit. That's of conduction. When the impulses reach muscle cells, that leads to muscle contraction. That's the basic physiology about the conduction. Now, we can see about the disturbances in conduction. The disturbances is conduction. Conduction, there is two main possibilities. One is that it can be too rapid or too fast. The conduction is too fast or too rapid. What's the possibility? We know if you are getting stressed, if you are seeing something or mentally stressed, or if you are with the severe exertion, what will happen? That means the conduction is too rapid conduction is there. Stress response. Another situation, that's a disturbances in conduction. If the person is having stress, the person can develop arrhythmias. There is chances of conduction anomalies, the abnormalities. Too rapid conduction can occur. Second, in the presence of an accessory pathway. Extra conduction fibers, accessory pathway. Well, you should know what is accessory pathway. That all are extra conduction fibers that provide a direct connection between atria and ventricles. That means circumventing the AV node. That's automatically an incorrect conduction pathway. Automatically an incorrect conduction pathway. Just circumventing the AV node. From the SA node directly may go to the ventricles. That's the second possibility. The presence of an accessory pathway. That's the extra conduction fibers. Example of this type of arrhythmia is WPW. We will discuss later. In that, the rhythms, the AV reciprocating tachycardia. That's another. This AV reciprocating tachycardia means we can't imagine the heart rate may reach up to 250 beats per minute. That's an abnormal rhythm. That's a through accessory pathway is passing the impulse. Now, again the disturbance we are considering. Too fast we considered. Now, too delayed or too slow conduction. You might have heard about heart block, first degree block, second degree block, third degree block and all. In this first and second degree AV block, this will happen. Delayed, too slow conduction. Delayed conduction. Totally blocked from continuing down the pathway by abnormal electrical tissue. That's the third possibility. Too rapid, delayed. Now the third possibility is totally blocked from conducting down the pathway by abnormal electrical tissue. That's a third degree block. What's the possibility of an abnormal electrical tissue? Suppose a person had myocardial infarction. Ischemia is there on that cells, that ischemic cells. They can't conduct the electrical current properly. Again, the conduction delay and the conduction block occurs when the propagating impulse fails to conduct. That means various factors influencing the delay in conduction. Think about the possibilities. The first possibility is like that. Active and passive membrane properties determine the conduction velocity of an impulse. The membrane property, active and passive, that may influence the velocity of an impulse conduction. The second factor, the stimulating efficiency of the impulses, ability to stimulate the impulses. That's another factor. Now the third factor is the excitability of the tissue into which the impulse is conducted. Once it receives means it could excited. The excitability of the tissue into which the impulse is conducted. That's the third factor. So anyway, incomplete recovery of refractionariness. That means myocardial infractions. There is incomplete recovery when an impulse arrives that particular tissue or cells that is still in refractory. It will not be conducted, or the impulse will be conducted with aberration. A refractory tissue or ischemic tissue, there is no conduction at all. It reaches a refractory stage tissue, it will not be conducted, or the impulse will be conducted with aberration. Slow conduction. Then in bradycardia or deceleration, dependent block is due to the reduction of excitability with the subsequent reduction in action potential amplitude. There is reduction in the action potential amplitude. From one cell to the other, once it reaches, there is reduction in the amplitude that may influence the conduction. Next about gap junction. You know the muscle cells, cardiac muscle cells, there is gap junctions like a band. The gap junction coupling that plays a crucial role for the velocity and safety of impulse propagation. You know the normal array or arrangement of the cardiac muscles. Just rewind the image of that gap junctions and all. If there is coupling, it will take a crucial role for the velocity as well as the safety of impulse conduction. Many factors that can alter the conduction, including the range, autonomic tone, drugs, examples of drugs, calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, digitalis, adenosine triphosphate, and other possibilities, degenerative processes of the cells. Degeneration means that may actually altering the physiology of the tissue. Degeneration means, and the capacity to conduct the impulses. Now, this is all about conduction abnormalities. We just see some examples in detail. Later I am discussing some rhythms produced by conduction block. They are AV block, already told. First degree AV block, second degree AV block, third degree AV block. And that first degree then there first degree cells, first degree type 1, type 2 is there, and third degree. Now SA block is there. So you just observe some pictures of first degree AV block. These all are some ECG strips. Later we are studying in detail about all these types of conduction anomalies. These all some types of arrhythmias. These all are. Now next diagram about the second degree. In second degree also see that type 1 and type 2 is written. Now the third degree or complete AV block. These all are some ECG strips. Now the abnormalities of conduction. The second factor we can see, that's of the re-entry. That means uncentered again is entry. That's of re-entry. The re-entry is a situation in which a misdirected electrical impulse, that's not directed properly, it's a misdirected electrical impulse, re-excites a conduction pathway through which it has already passed. Again it's re-entering in at the same pathway which is already passed. That's of re-entry. Once started, this impulse that may circulate through the same area repeatedly. That's of the re-entry mechanism. Re-entry that referring to a repetitive propagation of the wave of activation. Repetitive propagation of the wave of activation, returning to its original site. Returning to its site of origin to reactivate that site. During normal electrical activity, the cardiac cell begins in the SA node and it continues to propagate until the entire heart that is activated. This impulse dies out when all fibers have been depolarized and are completely refractory. That's the mechanism. However, if the group of isolated fibers is not activated during the initial wave of depolarization, the wave is passing, the impulse is passing, action potential is passing, but there are a group of isolated fibers are there. They are not activated during the initial wave of depolarization, they can recover the excitability in time to be depolarized before the impulse dies out. They may then serve as a link to re-excite area that were previously depolarized but have already recovered from the initial. So there is a delay. Again, once they are getting up from that delay, what will happen? They may then serve as a link to re-excite the areas that was previously depolarized but have already recovered from the initial. Initially, once it repolarized, again these fibers is not activated during the initial wave. They will re-excite the area. Such a process is commonly denoted as the re-entry. The requisites for a re-entry that include bidirectional conduction and unidirectional block. Bidirectional conduction and unidirectional block. Micro level re-entry occurs with the VT from conduction around the scar of myocardial infraction. Suppose the fibers, I told about some fibers, they are not activated. The fibers can be a myocardial infraction site. So, VT, the conduction around the scar of myocardial infraction. Conduction, where it will happen? Around the scar of a myocardial infraction. A macro level re-entry occurs via conduction through Wood-Parkinson's-White, one type of WPW I already told, a type of re-entry mechanism, re-entry syndrome. That may conceal accessory pathways. If there is a block, they will go through another way. That's another re-entry. Accessory pathway, it reaches again, it's circulating. That's another re-entry mechanism. Re-entry has been divided in two main groups. That's so. Anatomical re-entry and classic re-entry. There are many classifications, many divisions are there. In detail is not necessary for us. So we can just see to anatomical and classic re-entry. Anatomical or classic re-entry, where the circuit is determined by anatomical structures. Determined by the anatomical features or anatomical structures, such as any anatomical means abnormal pathways is forming, like that anatomical structures, deformities, size of the ventricles, ventricular enlargement, and the functional re-entry, which in turn includes different mechanisms, alteration in functions. It is characterized by a lack of anatomical boundaries. Functional, there is lack of anatomical boundaries, but it's due to some functional problems. These are two types of re-entries. Anyway, if you want to see the re-entry in detail, you can just observe these diagrams. 3 diagrams I have to explain. Okay, you just observe the diagram. That's of re-entry mechanism. A premature beat or impulse is entering. So, the cardiac conduction tissue, you can see this. That's of the cardiac conduction tissue. Then, once premature beats means slow, there is a conduction pathway. That is a slow conduction pathway. The beat is going through the slow conduction pathway. Other one that is blocked, the fast conduction path, there is slow recovery. That means that you can see an arrhythmia is triggered by a premature beat. The fast conduction pathway is blocked because of its long refractory period. So, the beat can only go down through the slow conducting pathway. That's about the first diagram. Now, observe the second diagram. Again, you can see the slow conduction pathway and fast conduction pathway. In slow conduction pathway, there is fast recovery occur. and the fast conduction pathway, there is slow recovery occur. So the wave of excitation from the premature beat arises of the distal end of the fast conducting pathway, which has now recovered and therefore travels retrogradely. That means backward travel up the fast pathway. See the slow conduction wave which is going back to the fast conduction pathway. Now, one more diagram is there. This continuation. You can see the cardiac tissue, the slow conduction path, fast recovery in slow conduction. Now, it's fast recovery is there. Fast conduction path, the slow recovery. That means on arriving at the top of the fast pathway, it finds the slow pathway has recovered. On the way, it sees that the what path? It's recovered. The slow pathway has recovered. And therefore, the wave of excitation re-enters the pathway and continues in a circular movement. This creates the re-entry circuit. Now, one more total picture of the re-entry circuit. One more picture you observe. Where all the re-entry circuit can occur is mentioned. AV nodal re-entry. See the picture. A circle is there. Arrow mark and you just see clearly the circle AV nodal re-entry SVT in SVT type of arrhythmia, and ventricular re-entry, ventricular tachycardia. See in ventricles that position re-entry mechanism. You see the arrow mark in a circular movement is going. Again, atrioventricular re-entry. Wolff-Parkinson's SVT and all comes under that area. See the mechanisms. See the circle is going atrioventricular re-entry. Now, next you see the atrial re-entry. Atrial portion only, AV node, SI node, near to SI node in atria, atrial tachycardia, atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter. These all types of arrhythmia is due to atrial re-entry. Re-entry means there is the circuit in a circular movement. The image is clear for you, I think, what is re-entry. Then one more picture for the mechanism of re-entry. That's the two pathways, alpha pathway and beta pathway. Beta pathway is the fast conduction pathway and alpha pathway is the slow conduction pathway. Fast conduction pathway, it takes long refractory time, and alpha pathway, the slow conduction pathway, it takes short refractory time. That's the re-entry mechanism. Next picture you see mechanism of re-entry, how it enters. Once more, you see the first picture. Keep it in mind. Then we may move to the second picture. This is the second picture. This is about the mechanism of re-entry. Fast conduction pathway, short and the slow conduction pathway. Re-entering to the fast conduction pathway. Okay, anyway, the re-entry requires two distinct pathways that come together at beginning and end to form a loop. It's forming a loop. From the diagrams is clear for you, it's forming a loop. A unidirectional block in one of these pathways. That also another point you noted. There is a unidirectional block in one of the pathway. The first diagram you observe the block. Slow conduction is the unblocked pathway. Which one is the slow conduction pathway? Means rewind the first diagram. The unblocked pathway is the slow conduction pathway. Large re-entry circuits like a flutter involve the atrium. That also you observed in the diagram. This is about re-entry. So, I just mentioned about some re-entrant rhythms. AV nodal re-entrant tachycardia, AV re-entrant tachycardia, AVRT, AVNRT. There are many tachycardias and many arrhythmias are there. We will study later. Then atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation, ventricular tachycardia. These all are re-entry rhythms. Then we know, means just think how to recognize this re-entry on ECG. Re-entry. That means abrupt onset and termination of the arrhythmia. How we can recognize that re-entry mechanism? The P wave of the first beat of the arrhythmia is different as the remaining beats of the arrhythmia. If a P wave is present at all, that's an indication. The first beat of arrhythmia, the P wave, that is different from other P waves, means there is a re-entry. That's a simple method to, a simple trick to understand the re-entry, recognize the re-entry by ECG. So again, let you see some examples of AVNRT re-entry strips. You can observe the diagram, strips, ECG strip. You see the form of waves. Are you able to find out any P wave or any QRS complex handle? Just one more diagram explaining the re-entry mechanism. Again, this is a diagram of atrial flutter. I will teach you later. Sawtooth flutter waves you can see in this diagram. That's a re-entry circuit. All control is gone. That's it. This type of flutter. Then unmasking of flutter waves you see. Atrial fibrillation. Another image. There is absent P wave. There is any P wave, CC? No. There is absent P wave. This all about the arrhythmogenesis as well as the pathophysiology of arrhythmia. So I think it's clear for you. Without knowing this pathology or arrhythmogenesis, arrhythmia changes, it's very difficult for you to understand the further classes, next classes, the types of arrhythmias and all. So hope you all study these portions. Thank you.